I'm still talking about my very first night in Herakhan. It was amazing. So when Babaji threw out these 3 women, at the end, I wanted to know where they went. So I had a lot of self-esteem, and I said, Babaji, I'm cold. I want to go to the fire myself. Where did they go to this Dooney fire pit, And he said I could go. So I went, and there were these old yogis. They were like 900 years old to me, but really 90, But they were like 90 years old, and they looked ageless, like, they could be living 900 years or something. It was the weirdest thing. So one of them said, you sit right here next to me. And he started singing to me like I was the only woman in the whole universe. And it was kind of romantic, and I thought, what's going on here? I mean, I don't understand these. I can't be turned on by a 900-year-old yogi or a 90-year-old yogi. Anyway, so I said to the people, what is he singing? He said, all he ever talks about is God. Then he said, oh, you take this peace pipe and you smoke it, So I didn't know what it was. So I took one whiff and I went right out of my body. And all I remember is these yogis slapping me on the back and getting me back in. And I said, I've had enough. I have to go to my room. I have to go to sleep. So I left and I went to lie down in my room. But then the most amazing thing happened. Babaji materialized to me floating in the air. And the strangest thing was, he had a baby's body and an old man's head, which was the head of old Herakhan Baba, which I had seen in pictures, very few pictures. So the baby's body. And he's floating in front of me and sending me light and sending me light and sending me light. And I couldn't handle it. I thought I would freak out. So I woke up my roommate and I said, please go to my backpack and read the Course in Miracles to me out loud, or I'm going to go crazy. So he sat up all night reading the words of Jesus to me. And that's how I got through the night. And the next day, Babaji was really provocative. We were called to a circle, and he said, you, give a speech. You're a teacher, and he trained me to give spontaneous speeches. And I thought, what am I going to speak about? And people from all over the world, like 25 people from all over the world were there. And I didn't have any speech prepared. So, I said, okay, I'll just share what happened last night in my room. And I thought, what if I'm doing it wrong? So I turned around and I looked at him. And he's sitting on a rock and he's coloring in a coloring book, like a little kid. And then I had the feeling he's really on another planet. That was my feeling. It was so unusual. Anyway, the next day, then he called us all together in a circle. He said, you can stay 2 days, you can stay, 1 day, you leave now. And he was telling everybody when they should leave. And I thought, why is he doing this? Some people have to leave right away, and I can't stand it if I have to leave, and I came all this far. And later I realized that he knew exactly how much of his energy that we could each handle. So I was the last person. I was shaking. I thought, if he tells me to leave now, I'll be so upset. And he said, how long would you like to stay? And I told him when my visa was up in 2 weeks. So I got to stay 2 weeks with him, and my whole life completely changed forever. Then, it took me about 2 years to recover from the sight of him, to tell you the truth. I was going through so much karma, releasing, and I knew it was a good thing because I was into rebirthing so I could breathe it out. But after 2 years, one day I said, oh, I finally feel back to myself. And then that very day I got a letter from Babaji, come back over here right now. So the second time I went, I shaved my head, I surrendered to him as much as possible, and I started writing the book, Ideal Birth, in his presence. And everything after that changed. My whole life completely changed. I was a nurse, first of all, when I started out, and suddenly I became a rebirther, I became a teacher, I became a writer. Everything, all my talents from past lives came forth because of Babaji. And he totally changed my whole reality and my perception of everything. And I couldn't stop thinking of him, I couldn't stop thinking of India. And all I wanted to do was go back and see him again. And, I want to say that my longing for that is still there. I still long to go to India, and now I'm so happy because I take people with my husband Mark to India, because people sometimes have a fear to go to India. But we make it very easy because I've been there so many times, and Babaji blesses us all, and we have a marvelous experience.
Sri Herakhan Hari Rakama